Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, my name is Tashya Alfiah Yasin, and today we're going to talk about the most important table in this world, which represents an element that exists in the universe. What is it? Yes, this is the introductions of the periodic table. Let's take a look. Well, the periodic table is basically the most powerful tool chemists have for organizing information, dense catalog of all of the different sorts of atoms in the universe. Because without it, maybe happen a chaotic and also a random observation in a laboratory, right? It's so dangerous. Then what makes them really invaluable? Because you can predict a lot about the chemical behavior of an element if you know where it is on the periodic table. Well, they contain 118 elements, and then you can be found 94 elements, mostly in the nature, and then also the rest of them are in the laboratories. This number are still continuing because maybe in the near future, the scientists found a new element that can be adding into the periodic table. So no worries, just enlarge the periodic table, okay? Okay, the wonder of the chemical element is that they combine with each other and there are almost infinite number of possible combinations that produce all of the different chemical compound needed and build everything around us. For example, as you can see here, is the water. It's the combinations of hydrogen and oxygen. And yeah, basically it happens like that. And also, 118 seems so little to explain the whole universe, right? But it's actually not. Let's take a look. If you see anything surrounding you, it's really definitely the example of the elements. For example, the coffee. As you can see, it's also containing many elements. Even the fork and spoon that we use to eat is also containing an element. And then the last, the plastic on the laptop. Yes, you might be wondering what it means. You can see the side of the laptop. It's also containing the plastic, right? And the plastic is made up of an element. Yes, basically everything is made of an element. They combine each other. Just remember that. Okay. Some people might know what each of these letters represent in the periodic table, because each element is represented in one square, which has the structures inside it. First is atomic numbers, and then the symbol. Below it, it has the name and atomic mass, and the last is common oxidation states. Notice that several elements has an unrelated name, which some of them are derived in English, and also some of them are derived in a Latin word. For example, Ag. We know it Ag as a silver, right? But it's actually from a Latin word, which is argentum. And then, well, in periodic table, there is some certain colors which represent distributions of its properties. First is metals. Metals can be found in the left side and then the middle sides of the periodic table, which typically shiny and are good conductors of heat and electricity. And then next is nonmetals. Nonmetals can be found at the right side of the periodic table and also the left side on the periodic table. It's exception for the hydrogen, but it's still nonmetals. Nonmetals are typically not shiny and are bad in conductors of heat and electricity. And then there's a dividing line of the nonmetals and the metals, which we called it as metalloids. It seems like a staircase, and its properties fall between metals and nonmetals. Notice that several elements listed in order of atomic number, right? Each has a unique atomic number. So we can see from the left to the right and also from top to the bottom. Then why we have to arrange it in the rows and columns? And also, why don't we just put them in a long list? Because it depends on the atomic numbers. And How about the distributions of each elements in the periodic table? Is that because of the elements of the symbols of what? Yes. Before we talk about that, we have to recall about the atom first. Okay? Atom is the smallest recognized division of chemical element, which consists of proton, consists of a positive charge, and neutron as a neutral charge, and surrounding by an electron as a negative charge. The properties in a chemical element are defined by the atom nucleus, and by the way, electrons distributed in the layers. These properties define the way of atom combine. Atoms react each other because of the electrons in the outermost layers. For example, like here. So there's an electron in the outermost layers, and if the layers has the same number of the electrons in the layers, it means that they have the same properties. So we can categorize it. And these characteristics can be applied or in the same case with the periodic table. So as we can see here, this is the vertical column of the periodic table, right? These vertical columns are containing similar chemical properties with the same number of electrons in their outer energy levels. So from here to here, they have the same characteristics or the same chemical properties. And then the second is periods. Periods means the same number of energy levels, but they have increasing number of electrons in the outer energy level. Simply says it has a different properties. For example, from here to here, it has an the same number of energy levels, but increasing in the numbers. You can see from 87 to 88 until 118. For example, in the first column of the table, we have the elements that have a single electron in the outer layers. Each element in the periodic table has a very well divided neighborhood above and below it has the same properties and similar electrons. Yes, the distributions of the electrons is the same. And on its right, it has an element that has an electron and one proton more, and therefore has a different properties. And every so often, the outermost layer has filled through the right side of the periodic table. For example, like here, this is the first column, right? The first group has one electron in outermost layers. So getting more to its right every so often, they increasing of the number of the electrons in the outermost layer, right? And getting on the right side, the electron is getting full and then back to the group 1 again. For example, from here it's until the group 8 and then back to the group 1 again. So and so on. It's happened like this. This periodic repetition is known as the periodic law. This is the basis of the organizing an element in the periodic table into columns. Now we're noticed that we're done with the discussions of the periodic table itself, and now we are wondering who is made the like the periodic table is. Well, what we use back then, the periodic table that we use is from the famous scientist in Russian, which is Dmitry Ivanovich Mendeleev. Yes, in 1869, he is a Russian chemist, which the best of formulating periodic table, with not only corrected the then accepted properties of the some known elements, but he predict the properties of 8 elements that were not yet to be discovered. So here is the original periodic table of his. of him, and then there is some sort of like gaps in here. It represents the element that have not been discovered yet. And also he proposed some suggestion related to the elements in it, because he thought he missed something, that the swapping of some element, for example like potassium and argon. He proposed to swap between it, because of the listed of the atomic mass. So he thinks that the listed of the elements in the periodic table is because of the atomic mass, which is really kind of like ambiguous. As we can see here, the number of the atomic mass of the argon is way bigger than the potassium, which if it's right, if that in that case the listed of the elements in the periodic table is based on the atomic mass, so that will be happen chaotic listed. So that's why there is some scientists, actually a physicist in 1930. He is an English physicist, which is Henry Moseley, whose contribution to a science of physics was just justification for physical law of previous empirical and chemical concept of the atomic number. So he just made the evidence of the lists of the periodic table were not because of the atomic mass, but because of the atomic number by the experiments of the related to the X-ray. After we know about all of the facts about the periodic table and also the founders of the periodic table, thanks to God that really happening, a genius person like Dmitry Mendeleev, which found the periodic table and also the way he expressed the phenomenon around him. It's really amazing, because by the periodic table, we now know that everything around us is a very beautiful and amazing experience, because everything around us, even this headset, is also made up by a tiniest element, a tiniest things that we cannot even recognize in our naked eyes, so that it could be really grateful to everything around us, and also to God, that becoming really a good things for us. So I think that's it about the periodic table. Thank you so much for watching these videos. I hope that you guys are understand of what I'm just talking about in these videos. And also, before I end up these videos, I want you to visit some quizzes application, because I provide some mini quiz in there, and it's a lot of fun. It's not a hard question. I provide 10 questions in there. If you want to make sure that you are understanding about this material, you can visit there and participate in there. And I'm waiting for your participate. Thank you so much. Bye bye.